Hello, everybody. It's Donna Cravata, and today we have another Real 50 over 50 interview. And I would like to introduce you to Gail Miller. She's a professional certified ghostwriter and helps powerful women tell their stories. Through her business, Golden Ghostwriting, she specializes in the genre of women's memoirs and narrative nonfiction. She guides women as they connect the dots in their own magnificent life stories that may otherwise be left untold. She's an independent Publishers of New England Book Award finalist for writing her client's memoir, Finding Zoe. The curriculum developed for the book is also used in deaf universities. And Gail is also an author of a self-help book entitled Your Heart Knows the Answer. It guides us to listen for and live according to the voice of our hearts. And according to Gail, your story is worth telling, and every book deserves to shine. So we're going to learn more about what she does and who she is and what's going on in her world. So welcome, Gail.
Thanks. Good to be with you.
Yeah.
For fellow New Yorker, right?
Hello, New Yorker.
In
Your
the midst.
accent will come out after a half an hour with me.
I hope it takes that long. People can tell. It's not very strong, but it's still there. Even though I've been gone from New York for about 30 years. My family still lives there, but it comes out.
It does. Well, you can take the girl out of New York, but you can't take the New York out of the girl, right?
It's so true. Whenever I go into Manhattan, I lived there for a
Mhm.
while. And so now I don't get to go that often. But when I do go, it's like I get my walk. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
You
It's
start
like,
bobbing and
okay,
weaving, right?
let's go. And it's strange because I've been away for a while. I mean, when I lived there, we still had subway tokens.
Mhm.
So that shows how long it is. And so it's funny because I get my walk and I feel like I'm home.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I feel really out of place.
Mhm.
It's funny. It's two
Mhm.
things at the same time,
It
right? Just
really
like
is.
life.
Yeah, just like life. So let's talk a little bit about what you do and how you help women tell their stories, because honestly, right now, I think that is the most important thing that we could be doing.
Yes, it is true. It is true. Before, I just want to say, I'm so devastated by Robert Redford's death. I just found out about this yesterday, and it was amazing because I saw this recording of him, and he was talking about how much stories meant to him. And he said that he hated to go to bed at night. He didn't like to sleep, but he knew that every night, I guess it was either his mother or father or somebody was going to tell him a story. And so he knew, if, okay, now I could relax because I know I have that story. So, story is very, very healing. It's a way for us to connect in with our own deep self and who we really are and work through our issues. I personally, I work best with women that think of their life as a spiritual journey, meaning that they believe there's some sort of divine order or goodness amidst this mess,
Yeah.
and we're here to discover who we really are and step into our best selves. And writing our memoir is sharing a slice of that journey.
hmm And giving yourself the opportunity to go back and connect those dots, because we don't always see that. How one
No, no,
from another.
no, not at all. In a way, that's one aspect that working with a ghostwriter can help because, I could help an author take a step back. We can get so close to
hmm
our own stories. And, so I could help somebody connect the dots in ways they may not have seen before. I function almost as an objective observer or witness, if
hmm
you will. You know, you could think of me as a story doula, helping you to give birth to what I call the highest expression of your story as I've been describing it. It's giving birth to our soul, really, or a a continuation thereof. To be able to see the bigger picture.
Yeah, I believe that every book is a birth, and they come about in their own time.
Yes, you can't force
You
it.
can, and,
You
like, when
can't
I
force
see
it.
these, write a book in a weekend
No, I
things,
know.
I'm like, you're not gonna write a good book in a weekend."
Right, right,
You might
yeah.
flush out a few ideas, but you're not writing a book in a weekend.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of what I was saying to you before we were live, that with my own process, I let the story lead
Mhm.
and take us where it needs to go, and you can't force it.
No.
I've seen time and again an author has a new insight, and it somehow alters the trajectory of the story, which is all just to say that the process has to be respected, revered. Even you're giving birth to your story and claiming it. We have to
Yes.
claim our story. But when I work with women, it's like they have arrived at the point where they've done enough self-reflection to know that they have a powerful story inside, and they're ready to claim it, and start writing.
And I'd love to ask you this question too, because, I'm sure a lot of personal and like, things that were damaging in their lives come up through this process. So, how do they, like, what's the trajectory almost from coming to this story and sharing the story as a victim versus, somebody standing in the power of their story?
I don't know. Everybody's at a different place in their journey, and so uh, when I work with somebody, I mean, they have to be far along enough. We're not perfect. We're going to slip into that victim mode at some
Mhm.
point. We're having a bad day, but there's that openness, to have a conversation about it. And then a new insight comes. That's the thing. It's new insight, new insight. You come, you've done enough of your own inner work. You have understanding about your story. And then the conversations back and forth, it's new insights all the time.
And memories too.
Yes.
Like,
Well, yes, all of it.
the
So,
things
in
that
terms
pop
of,
up that they didn't remember, right?
oh yeah, it happens. It happens. So it's part of the process.
Mhm.
That is, quintessential letting the story lead. An author says something, and, I said before about working with women that view their life as a spiritual journey. And, what draws me to this process is my own spiritual journey. I've been doing my own inner work for a long time. I understand what healing is about, so I can help the author have a bigger picture.
Mhm.
And so there's always a revelation or a new insight, and we just keep moving forward.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
and
very healing,
yeah,
incredibly healing, and it's claiming it. Oh, that's what I wanted to say also.
mhm,
In other words, we can begin and you start at a certain place, but new insights come, and then you claim it more and more and more. It's interesting that the author that I'm working with currently, as we were going through the interviewing process, she was saying to me, like, wow, it's so incredible to hear myself and this, the conversation going back and forth. I'm I'm really claiming my story now. And then when she saw the first draft, she saw it, and it
mhm,
was like a whole new thing. It was like, oh my God, now it's on paper. This is amazing. And I said to her, wait till you hold that book in your hand.
yeah, yeah. That's such a magical moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
The
such
whole process is
Yeah,
magical,
it is, it is. I love working with authors. I really
Me
do.
too. Uh
Yeah,
huh.
and,
For that reason, they
well, because it really is, they're, I mean, I primarily work with people that write business books, but the business
Mhm.
books are, it's about their journey and, like, what got them to the point where they can have that business and be successful with what they do and claim that thing that works, that they're good at, that, maybe didn't fit into some other environment. So it's incredibly personal.
It
And
is. It's just different focus, but
yeah,
same goal.
yeah,
Really.
and, again, putting all the parts together. I mean, you don't remember all the things that you've done and all the things that you put aside so you could take care of somebody else or let somebody else shine for that moment.
That's,
And
yeah.
when you start to claim those pieces, you just see yourself in a different light.
Right. I think with memoir, it's it's that much more intimate because what the reader is looking for and what the memoir is about and your story about is your own vulnerability,
Yeah.
and I think with business books, you have more experience because I'm not interested in writing business books, but you don't, it's not
Well,
required,
I
you
I
know,
I
to be
think
vulnerable
yeah,
in certain ways. I
I
mean,
I think
you have
I
to
think what
draw the
hap
reader, but
I think what happens is, like, when somebody goes to write a business book, they're not thinking of all of the personal stuff that's gonna come up as they're writing this business book. It's
right, but it
secondary.
does, is what
But
you're
yeah,
saying.
but
Yeah, right.
when you claim, "I'm gonna write a memoir," you're going into it intentionally prepared to
Exactly,
share all this
exactly.
personal
Right, because you know what it is. It's like, and this is the power and the beauty of memoir because each of us, and I look at it as a healing process, my own
Mhm,
perspective, but each of us has our own life experiences that we have. But with memoir, it's the author's reflection
mhm,
about those experiences. That's the takeaway for the reader. That's when she says, yeah, me too. I'm learning something about myself here, even though her experiences are very different than yours.
mhm.
In terms of the healing, if we're all here to heal.
Yeah,
And in that regard, we're all so much more alike than different in that our life lessons overlap,
mm,
and that's the magnificence of memoir is our life lessons. So other people, I mean, a woman picks up a memoir, she's looking for something, I mean, she's looking through that person that attracted her. She's looking to learn about herself, it's just, what are we here for,
yeah, yeah.
That's why I love memoir so much.
Yeah, and that's it. That's the stories of those connecting pieces that connect us to generations, that connect us to culture, that connect
Hmm.
us to, inner knowing.
Yes, it's always the inner knowing. You said culture. I want to mention this because I just finished reading a book. It's called My Side of the River. I mean, isn't that an amazing title? My Side of the River. Her name, the author is Elizabeth Camarillo Gutierrez. She was born in the United States. Her parents were Mexican immigrants. And it's just like, I mean, considering what's happening in the country today, it is
Mhm,
so relevant. I mean, she's young. I mean, she's probably, I think, figured around, she's probably around 28 right now. But she talked about when she was growing up in Arizona and the ice, were coming. And I was like, oh my God. And what happened to her was, so her parents' visa didn't get renewed after a while. So she had to stay in the United States by herself and live with some family when she was in high school and college. And she
mhm,
wanted to go to a good college, and her parents supported it. But she talked about the anxiety and the stress that she had with these circumstances. Now, I didn't have any of those circumstances, but I so identified,
mhm.
with what she was talking about. I mean, it's just an amazing book, really amazing. We learn so much about ourselves.
Yeah, because feeling outside of what is, considered normal or routine, when you get down to that, there's a core feeling that's it's not really about the specifics of the situation, but we all feel the same thing.
Yeah. Well, this is interesting. This is an unusual book the one I just finished. It's called, oh, I finished reading, not, I didn't ghostwrite it. I could talk about one of those too. But this one is, it's Orange is the New Black by Piper Kerman. And Oh, do you know that? It's
No, it was
about
a
her
TV
story about a year in women's federal prison.
Yeah, it was a TV show.
Oh, that's right. That's
Mhm,
right. Yeah. I don't watch TV, so I don't know. But I'll
mhm,
tell you, when I read first, that chapter where they were admitting her into the prison, I mean, I was just riveted, and I don't know nothing about being in prison. I don't plan on being in prison, but what like just she shared that experience. It was so fascinating. And what she really came to talk about was the women there and the relationships that they forged with one another while they were there is just really incredible, really
mhm.
incredible.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, um, and, that opened up, I mean, even with the TV show, it opened up, um, all kinds of dialogue around women's prison, which doesn't often get spoken about.
Right, exactly. Exactly. It was a great story.
Yeah. So, like, how do you come up with a title when you're working with a memoir? Like, is it something that people come to you with ideas what they think their title should be, or does it come out in the process of doing the work?
Oh, yeah, it depends. With the memoir that you mentioned before, Finding Zoe, um, the author is a deaf woman, whose book it is. She's actually a former Miss Deaf America. And so we had to work I was working on that. And this probably won't sound very good right now, but it's a little too complicated. But the point is that the publisher didn't go for it either. But we were working with the title Butterfly's Sign, because it turns out that actually butterflies are deaf. And that piece is in the story. But when we were working with the publisher, they were like, Finding Zoe. And I was like, oh, of course. Part of the story is how she adopted her daughter named Zoe,
Mhm,
and just how the universe conspired to bring the two of them together. She had three boys, and she just felt like, I have to have a daughter. I have to have a daughter in this life. And so that was a main aspect of the story, about all the different people, other decisions that other people made to bring the two of them together. But when the publisher said Finding Zoe, it was like, yeah, that works.
yeah, that is a great title.
Yeah.
It's very clear and, I'm sure, Zoe's prevalent throughout the whole book, so it's easy to kind of
Yes. Oh, very prevalent
nobody has
throughout
to
the whole
guess what it means. I like with marketing, you wanna try and create messaging that, people don't have to figure it out on their own,
book. Of course.
and that's what the butterfly sign might
Of course. Of
create.
course.
Yeah,
Right. You have to
so,
think too much. But it's just a working title.
you've been doing this for a long time, so you've probably worked on many, many, many different books. What is, like, the phone call that you wanna get or the email that you wanna get one day that is, like, the book that your heart's desire to work on?
Hmm. I tend not to go there, actually, because I try and keep an open stance, because I always know the right author finds me.
Mhm.
And so I just know whatever it is, it's going to be perfect. And that's not a cop out answer. I mean, I really try to live my life like that, like just staying open to what is given to me, and to serve that author.
So how do you know that it's right?
Now you just know in your gut,
Mm,
in your gut. It's funny with the author that I'm currently working with. We have a mutual friend, and he said to me, a friend of mine wants to write her memoir, and he said to me, but she's in the process of selling her house right now. So I don't know exactly when, and I figured, okay, well, maybe I'll hear from this woman in a few months. I
mhm.
mean, so, buying a new house is very stressful. But 2 days later, she called me, and we started talking, and she said to me right from the beginning, like, I know it's you, I know it's you, I know it's you. And I felt the same way. So you just know, your heart knows.
Yeah.
It's just a gut feeling.
Mhm.
And the chemistry, it has to be a good fit
Yeah.
when it comes to writing somebody's memoir. It has to be a lot of, it's a very intimate process, as I've been saying before, and there has to be there has to be trust.
Yeah.
I go deep with my authors, and that's not for everybody, you know. But the truth is, though, the deeper we go, the more universal our story, for for the reasons that we were saying before. You have to be open to that, though. You have to be open to wanting to really explore, and because I could, I'm being this objective observer, if you will, serving for the story, so I could push, like I said to my current client at one point, I said, "Oh my God, you're going to hate me already." And she's like, "No, no, I don't hate you." But you have
No.
to be open to it. But that's what the readers are coming for.
Yeah, but I think once you decide that you're going to write a memoir, you've kind of gone through some process already, because
Absolutely.
it's not something that everybody is going to do. And if you're going to write a memoir, you've been through something, and you have to have gone through some type of process to be willing to share it.
Right, exactly. It's like I was saying before, like women who approach me, they've arrived at the point. They've done enough self-reflection to really know, I have a powerful story to share, and perhaps my story can help somebody, and I'm ready to claim it now and start
Mhm.
writing.
Yeah,
You
that's
have to
the word.
claim it, the claiming. And when you're ready. And so that's why it's just such an unbelievably magnificent process. I just feel so blessed, that I know that I'm meant to do this. And it's like lived experience, right? We have, like, I know that at this point I have enough lived experience to know this is what I do. This is my dharma. This is my gift.
So what did you do before you did this?
I was a copywriter, actually. Yeah, living in New York City. And want to hear something really funny? I
Yes.
actually won an Andy Award for an ad that I wrote, an Avon ad, and I was still a secretary when I won an Andy Award. And that got promoted. That got me promoted to a junior copywriter. I was I don't know if you know NWA. That's one of the big ad agencies in the city, but that's where I started out, and I eventually shifted over into. I wanted to write my book. I had a book in me. I realized. I mean, when I graduated college, I had no idea that I would ever write a book. I had no desire. I was always a writer, and I figured, oh, copywriting, I could do that. I could earn a living doing that. It just, the headlines, they kind of come to me. I always tell people I felt like I was born reciting headlines. So that was, but the industry, it's, every stereotype you heard about it, it's worse.
Yeah.
So what I did was eventually I switched out of the agency side and moved into corporate. So I worked for McGraw-Hill for about 6 years as a copywriter in their creative services
Hmm.
department. And then I moved into Kripalu, a yoga center. That's what I really got really into my spiritual path, and it became really important to me. And then I realized, oh, I have my own book, and that sort of, after I
Yeah.
moved out of Kripalu, I wrote
Yeah.
that first book.
And it was all a process to get you to where you are now. I love those stories.
Right, yeah, well, that's a little bit of my life
Yeah.
story for you.
Yeah, but that's what I think people really enjoy hearing, that, particularly around this age group, because we've all got our own version of that.
Oh,
And
yeah,
we're at that
absolutely.
point where we start to connect our own pieces and see all the things that we did to get us to where we are. And like when we were doing them, we had no idea that that was bringing
Oh,
us to
yeah, yeah. I mean, gosh, I certainly had my struggles. After Finding Zoe
that. Hmm.
was published, and I was an IPNE Book Award finalist for that. IPNE is Independent
Hmm.
Publishers New England, as you said. After that book came out, I felt like, all right, this is going good. And then my son started having some difficulties, and I had to pull back. I actually had to just was not what I wanted. I felt like I had to stop right when I felt like I was
Mm.
raring to go. But it was all perfect. I mean, then when I came back, so much happens in the publishing industry over the years with
Yeah.
self-publishing and everybody writing a book and a book being your business card, and anybody could ghostwrite anybody else's book. And it was like, I was like, get back into there. And here it was, I had two books by traditional authors. And I was like, that's what led me to get certified, to
Hmm.
do my certification training. I just had to sort of get my sea legs in this industry that
Yeah.
was changing by the day.
Yeah.
And it's
And
still changing by the
yeah,
day.
it's not going to stop. I mean, AI has
No,
spun
no, it's
everything on its
amazing.
ear.
It's like there's Amazon and there's publishing, and
Hmm.
there's sometimes some overlap, but they're very different publishing paths, and you have to find out what's best for you. And so I wanted to help my authors as well, help them to determine the publishing path. It was the best thing I ever did, to get certified.
Yeah, because I mean, these are in the book world, in the publishing world, they're very specific things.
Very
Yeah.
specific, a marketable book. I mean, you could be like a fantastic writer,
Hmm.
but that doesn't mean you automatically know how to write a marketable book. There's
Yeah.
BISAC codes.
Yeah.
There's so
Yeah.
much.
All this, yeah. Yeah. And
Right.
and
Yeah.
I took, I think it was like 2009. I took because I started my business as a virtual assistant, and
Okay.
I um, I started I took training in 2009 to be a virtual author's assistant and virtual speaker's assistant, and that took me through the whole process of writing, publishing, and marketing books. And
Oh, that
then
was perfect, right?
yeah,
There's
so
a
I got
little bit of your story.
yeah, I took that years ago, and I realized I only liked the marketing part. But I
Oh,
know how to
well,
do
there you go.
but I've helped clients, create their own publishing companies. If I've had
Wow,
clients that like, they published a couple of books, self-published, and I was like, just start your own publishing company. It's
that's awesome.
it's not a lot to do that. And at least now you're creating a brand out of it, and it's more upscaled. And you got to buy
Absolutely.
you have to buy the ISBN codes anyway, so you might as well
Right.
use them.
Exactly.
Um,
Right.
so I've helped people in like all different realms of that, but there's so many ways to do it, and there's no right or wrong way. The only thing that I am like adamant about is you need a good editor. I will not work with an author that won't hire an editor.
Oh, well, they're not a real author then. I mean,
Right.
you have to like acknowledge the process, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't. They think, oh, I could just upload this to Amazon,
Well, and they do,
and they
but
do. And my tagline is the world doesn't need another shitty book.
I love. Well, that's what I was saying before. I guess it's probably maybe since 2010 or so when anybody could just upload a book on Amazon. And it's funny because when it first started happening, the traditional publishing companies, they were like, woo, like that. But then when there was money to be made, all of a sudden they're establishing their self-publishing arm. And
Yeah,
anyway, it's not to put it down. It's just
yeah.
that it's changing everything. It's changed everything. And now with AI, oh, that's another whole thing.
Well, it's you know what? They're all tools, and they're in the hands of the people that use them. And you know, there's people that are using them for good, and then there are people that are not.
Right.
You can't write a
Right.
great book with AI if you're not only using AI.
Right.
You
It's
know, it could
true.
help in so many ways. It could help with research and organization and
Oh, of course.
connecting with
Of course.
of things and naming things. And I mean, there's so many ways AI can help you write a
Ab-
really good book, but that does not
Absolutely.
discount that you need an editor, you need a good graphic designer, you need somebody to lay out that book properly, you need the right channels to market and share it. You need all of that, and AI is not doing that all for you. So, you know, to be able to,
Right. And it's also not going to give your book soul. I mean, it
no,
can do
no,
certain
no,
things,
no,
but
you've got to bring the story, you've got to bring the writing, or somebody like you in that's going to write like intimately on their behalf. But
coming from the soul.
exactly, exactly. And you know, and that's what I mean. Like the world does not need another shitty book. It's really easy to just put a few words in and presto changeo, you've got something.
Exactly.
But who needs that? We don't
I
need.
know. And now with copyright infringement, this whole
Mhm,
thing going on with Anthropic, that AI company.
mhm.
Yeah, there's a chance that one of my books is actually used. So I'm looking, waiting to see what to do next. I'm not positive. They couldn't tell you for sure,
Because they
but
don't know for sure.
it's interesting. Well, but this law firm is going to be representing all of the authors. Certain authors came forward, and that's how the whole case. And I don't know enough about it to really talk about it intelligently. I just know that one of my books, when I put the name in, it showed up. I was like,
Mm.
oh, okay, let's see let's
Yeah,
see what will happen here.
I mean, I don't know that they're going to be able to tell
Yeah, well, we'll see.
because
We'll
the way that
see.
AI tools work is it's just looking for the next logical word, and you know, it's looking in this vast space of words. So where did the words come from? I mean, the only way that they'll be able to really tell is if they have some kind of proof that the company intentionally used books
Well,
to
I think
train the
they've
model.
downloaded a
Yeah,
whole,
yeah.
thousands and thousands of books. I think
Yeah, but
so.
it's very
Well,
scary. It's
just
scary and
another
exciting at the same time, you know? Um,
Yeah,
so
just
there's
another example of the craziness happening these days,
well,
as we were saying before.
we don't have privacy and, you know, the world has changed, and, one of the things that I feel really strongly about is, you know, people in our generation, we grew up and came up in a totally different world, and we need to bring that forward in our stories. We need to share those stories so it doesn't get lost.
That's true. That's true. Because it could help younger people in what's happening now. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, and they just don't know.
no, but that's what you're saying. They
They,
just don't know. They can't even imagine
yeah,
what life would be like without Facebook.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's just like
I know.
without being like plugged into your phone 24/7. I
Yeah,
mean,
they just
it's a different world. It's
it is a
just
different world, and there's things that could definitely go from our time, but there's things that we need to carry forward too.
that's true. That's like believing in ourselves and not in how many likes we get.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a big part of the
yeah.
problem. What I think,
Knowing how to
people have been
connect.
told to dumb down. They don't think anymore.
Yeah. Well, we can only do what we could do.
Exactly. Raise our kids to the best of our ability.
Very true. Okay, so on that note, I like to wrap up these calls, these interviews, with a wisdom bomb, something actionable that people could take with them and, you know, improve their day, improve something in their lives, make somebody smile, whatever.
Right. You mentioned that before. It's like, oh, what is that going to be? But I would say trust yourself. If you want to share your story, if you don't want to share your story, trust your gut and go for it.
Love it. Everybody, please connect with Gail. Her website is goldenghostwriting.com. She's also on our Real 50 Over 50 webpage. And we will be back next week with more. Actually, next week we'll have two interviews because we have our 150th member that we're celebrating.
Yay! Thank you so
Um,
much.
Thank you, Gail, and have a great Wednesday, everybody.